Welcome to this episode of Chattin with Staxx. I'm your host, Bill Staxx, and today I got Larry Mazza. Will it ever end, the drama between you guys?
As far as I'm concerned, this conversation I'm having right now with you, hopefully will be the last. But
you're saying they keep saying stuff, you're going to keep responding.
Well, not if you keep saying the same things. I'm already telling you, he's going to come out and say this whole show is a lie, and everything I said is like, the other thing was the sports business.
Yeah, he said that you didn't pay somebody.
Listen, you can't find the person that'll say I didn't pay them. You won't find one person to this day, from then till now, okay? And back then, I had to borrow money on points from his father. But when I was a bookmaker, okay, if he's talking about that, it's the furthest thing from true. And even in the interview, he said they were trying to put a sports business together, and it wasn't working out. So the father said, hand it over to Larry or whatever. And in the interview, he says, who better to hand it off to than you? Because they knew I knew the business and I know numbers. And over the years, I brought in horses, I brought in sports, I brought in a whole bunch of things. I enhanced the number business because I took numbers on the phone from my clients, but I never did not pay anybody. And as a matter of fact, him and his father were pretty good about robbing the small bookmakers in town. They would bet and not pay if they lost and bring the money when you win. That's the thing. They're not the only ones that did that. I never did it because I was a bookmaker, and I hold that somewhat sacred.
Yeah, they strung on people, right?
Yeah. They even did it to me. They brought guys to me that lost big money, and they didn't pay me, or they said, the guy took off. Or I will say this, I got my end, but I had a partner at that time. And if we had 15,000 coming, he gave me my 7,500 and he robbed my partner. So so that's when I got quiet and I sort of took the business on my own. I never told him how big it was. When we won money, I said, we had a decent week. Never, like, we could have won 75,000.
He said that that his dad had nothing to do with the commission trial and the people getting wiretaps. Can you tell me what you knew about Senior and the wiretaps on the car, like the Jaguar?
There's two in particular that I know of. Again, was I there? Did I plant the bug? But I only know what I was told. One by an agent and one by a boss of one of the families that I was away with in my last 2 years in Yazoo, Mississippi. The first one was Jerry Lang, the underboss, used to go to a restaurant called Bonaparte. And he had a table he sat at every Friday night. On Greg's information about that table, they bugged that table. And it was it resulted in big indictments, okay? The other one was Fat Tony's car. Now, this is where Greg says he thinks they just used his father's name. That doesn't make it any better, not for nothing. But the boss of that family told me, of one of the families told me that he was responsible for that bug that went in Fat Tony's driver's car, which was a Jaguar, and Sally Avellino was the driver. I met him in prison, and he talked about that, So it came out, and there's probably a lot more, but those are the only two I know of that I was told by somebody. Of course, either I'm lying about that or they're lying to me, but whatever it is, that's going to be the answer. He's not going to say that he knows about Jerry Lang and that bug.
His answer is, my dad didn't testify against anybody in these, so he didn't have no. But he was like a rogue agent. He would go in there and give him information about anything. He's the reason that his son went to prison. He threw his son right under the bus. Yeah, he could have threw a lifeline. He could have helped him out.
We both know that. Okay? He knows that. We've discussed it before. We've discussed it on the interview. And right up to the end, the deathbed confession. You do not try to help your son. He said it himself. I mean, why would you want to praise this guy now? No, and behind the scenes, all the information he gave led to things. And then once these arrests come in, people flip. It's got to start somewhere. So, because very few of us got caught in the act of anything. I never got caught in the act of any crime. But Carmine said, you did this, this, and this. Then Greg said, you did this, this, and this. The next guy said, you did this, this, and this. Before you know it, 12 guys are saying, you did this, this, and this. And then
wasn't that big of a rat. He said.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I don't know what levels there are, but could you be half pregnant?
Yeah.
No, no. I know. I flipped. I know I had to make a decision and make a deal. I know what I did. Okay. And I say it again. I do the same exact thing over under the same circumstances because I could never do that while he was alive and my boss.
Because he would have, he would have wiped out.
He would have
like
done
your whole
anything.
family.
He wanted me to, the first guy that flipped, when it came out that he was no good. He wanted us to kill Joe Ambrosino, Joe Brains' mother, and put a sign on her that says, "This is what happens to rats." This is a fact. He told me and Jimmy was supposed to get a gas company uniform and go there like the gas company and kill her to stop this kid from ratting on us. Okay? There was another one that supposedly gave up Greg Jr. and somebody wanted him to be killed. Okay? But Greg Sr. knew for a fact, I know for a fact it wasn't him. So we gave the guy a pass. He knew for a fact, and it came out later on that his father had orchestrated that whole thing when Gregory got pinched. He wanted us to kill, and Gregory knows this, okay? He knows this. This is, again, now he'll say it's a lie, but there's other people that know it too, like my partner. He wanted us to kill Gregory's wife because she needed too much money while he was on the lam. Then when he got pinched, they wanted to just get her out of the way so they didn't have to support her anymore over money. Wow. I'm not making this up. Why would I say that years and years ago and still to this day say, it happened. Believe me. And the only problem I have is that I would never pull Jimmy into this. Because like I said, I'm above this, but I'm unfortunately in the quicksand again. Like when I got into this life, he came with me and was with me every step of the way. He knows everything I'm saying. Now, there's things that me and him disagree on. No, Carmine wasn't at that meeting. And I said, what do you mean? Don't you remember he came in later with Lefty and Bobby? And he says, no, that was the next night. Okay, we had 40 meetings that month. So yeah, we've had, but not on a lot of important stuff,
No.
But even some important stuff, he doesn't remember exactly, or I don't remember exactly. That's normal because it's real life. It's not a script. When you read it from a script or you have somebody in the background coaching you, yeah, then you just, say the same thing over and over and over and over. And it becomes old news.
Now, if Greg Jr. was here right now,
yeah.
without the girl and all that bullshit, what would you say to him right now?
What happened to you? What happened to you? What changed you? Outside of the RV and us having an argument, why this ridiculous rampage that some people are going to side with you because they're groupies and they like you and they like little Linda. And some people are going to side with me because I've proven myself from the war till now to be a man. Okay, maybe not a tough guy like other people, but I'm as much as a man as anybody you want to put in front of me. And again, I'm willing to accept an apology and put it behind us. And if he does that, which he won't, he'd never do that. Or we could just continue our own separate ways. Nobody has nothing to gain. Nobody has anything to lose. We are where we're at. So I'm not, again, to me, after this podcast, I'm done. I do have another podcast with a friend, but it's not going to be about this unless something comes out in the meantime. If something else comes out again, other than calling me a liar, because I'm not going to address that anymore. I mean, how many times can I address it? How many times can I say I'm not? And how many times are you going to say you're a liar? You're a liar. He didn't do that. Now you're now testing my manhood and bringing up the assault. Like that makes me not a tough guy.
He said you changed. You're assaulted.
By cracking two guys. Well, one of two guys that were approaching me with malice.
I mean, you did what you had to do.
I always do what I have to do, and that's it. You know, I'm not. I don't go looking for trouble. I'm not, and I'm not looking for friends. I don't need any friends. You know what I mean? I've got the group of circle of guys that, you know, and some of us go back to the old days, and we're still very tight. And I have some active guys, which I would never mention, that still come to see me, and I still meet up with them. Oh, here's a good story. Here's one good story, and I know he's going to hear this. There's a guy that Greg Sr. wanted killed. I won't say his name. If Gregory wants to talk about it, he could, but he knows who I'm talking about. But he didn't get killed because all the guys and Junior did not want it done. He told his father, and he was the skipper at the time, I don't want this kid hurt. He's not going to rat on us. He insisted, Senior, that this guy was going to rat. It went so far as that there was a grave dug for him. Okay, even though Junior said he didn't want it to happen, and some of the guys were going to do it. It was all in the drug thing, so I really had nothing to do with this one. But they were going to bury him. As luck would have it for him, they all get pinched that day. The whole crew gets rounded up, so the kid doesn't get killed.
Wow.
That kid today, okay, and this could probably help him. The kid today, I guarantee you he has no idea, has one of the most popular, lucrative nightclubs in Southeast Florida. In Boca. I'll say where it is. Okay? And you know what the name of it is? The name of it is his name. Go see him. He owes you for saving his life. Maybe he won't forget and give you some points in the joint, or you can hang out there. You know, how about that? The guy is making a fortune. He probably needs a money counter to count his money every night in that club. And he could have been dead. He's not, well, not so much, but Gregory didn't want to do it, but it was going to be done. As sad as that sounds.
Yeah, but did you feel like you owed Greg Jr. when he got out of prison?
No, I told you that already. I answered.
No.
That was answered. No. I didn't owe him anything other than what I felt we had a true friendship. Okay. And I felt we both went through a very similar hardship, not at him way worse. And I said it again. Nobody got screwed like him. Nobody. Okay. Nobody was thrown under the bus worse than him. Me and Jimmy, right behind that, because he could have helped us too on that deathbed confession, but he didn't. But I would have done the same thing for anybody else that I felt I was close to and went through hell. Okay, I've done it. I was in Atlantic City. I met a guy that I didn't see in years. I didn't recognize him. He recognized me. Larry, don't you remember me from there? And whatever he's doing, he's down and out. And we exchanged numbers. And he calls me for money. I didn't see this guy in 50 years, 40 years, 45, 47. I don't even know how many years it is anymore. You know, I forget how old I'm getting. And I helped him. I didn't have to do that. You know, I got guys that in that inner circle I told you about that are doing things with me, that we do things together, you know, and they'll never say a bad word. I was a positive influence to them in a zillion ways. Okay, so anybody, you know, he's not, you know, I didn't pick him out of a hat to do it. He's somebody that I felt deserved a break, deserved some help. And again, he's not the only one, but I'll end that question by saying nobody got it worse than him. So I was.
Do you think his girl is a negative influence on him?
Oh, listen, I don't think I need to say that. It seems like his last two girls were. I mean, yeah, absolutely. I mean, again, you're asking me that, but you could ask probably his whole family. Okay. And again, so many of them reach out to me. They will tell you. But again, they don't want to get in the middle of it. I don't need to be the one to say that. There's other people that'll tell you that if they want to talk to you.
What are your final thoughts on this whole situation?
Listen, I don't. I'm gonna go to my gym. I'm gonna work out. I'm gonna probably go to dinner tonight. Have a nice weekend. Live my life. The problem is, people text me. They send me these notes. They send me these posts. They send me these podcasts, and I look at them. I don't watch the whole thing. Like this last one, I didn't watch the whole thing. I saw enough. I saw he's doing the same thing. So I'm just going to live my life. I don't need him, his name, to get ratings. My interview with him and Debbie it's probably up to 35,000 views by now. You know, yeah, between the five of them, we broke them up. You know, Millennial Choice needs him to bring my name into it to get 4,000 views. Go tell your own story. See how many views you get. You know, and maybe you'll get a lot. Maybe you'll start building up. But if you keep doing this, we're just Jerry Springer. So I'm not going to keep doing it. I'm not going to keep doing it. You know, I know he's going to come back one more time to say that this whole show is a lie. But you documented some stuff. You put it right up there in the book. You know, his own words, his girlfriend's own words, saying stupid things like him and Linda had an affair and stuff. Where did that come from? I never heard that. And she's saying, I knew it. You know, so there's somebody bad in this equation somewhere, and I'm not the common denominator. I can tell you right now, because you don't see anybody else in all these years I've been out on podcasts with you and different people. How many people came out and really spoke bad about me? You tell me. Do you know any?
No.
Yeah, anybody asked that to. So now all of a sudden, this one guy wants to come out and do that. I'm not going to entertain him forever. I'll just, again, this will be the last time.
I think you gave it too much energy as it is so far, you know. But you gotta defend it. Well, people talk about me all the time. I don't even give them the time of day. I don't mind because they don't matter.
I normally don't. But this is like, you know, the chicken's cooked. You said what you had to say. Now you're burning it. You're trying too hard. It's coming across like you're trying too hard now. That's the problem. You're trying so hard to get everybody to believe I'm this horrible. And the people that are talking, you know, groupies, either his or Linda's, and that's fine. I got people that follow me, and they love me. They send me hearts all the time. You know, it's the way it's going to be. But I'm not. I'm done with it again until I hear something or something different. You know, if he comes out and says something else like, I don't know. I don't even know what he can say. Who knows? But he can say I'm a liar all he wants. I don't know where that's going to go. He's already said it enough. But yeah, so to me, it's it's over. I'm not going to waste my breath and my time and my life on it. But I do have to go pick up 500 more books. You believe that because of all this? That's true. We had to order 500 more books, and I was almost over the books. I want to get a series or the documentaries coming out. It's going to be a documentary on me and the war and stuff like that. And we're going to go back in time to some of the old wars. So that's going to also boost my book sales. But I haven't been really out there promoting it anymore. How much are you going to do, you know? But if something like that happens, that book will be a million seller. But I have to go to pick up 500 books next week. And I got a list of people that are waiting. And I had to put out there, I'm sorry, I sold out because of all this bullshit nonsense that people want. No, it's real. It's true.
Publicity, I know bad publicity is good publicity too.
Well, but that's what I said. He'd be better off, instead of getting $200 for a podcast, get your book written. Get your manuscript written. Get it done. And then go on podcasts. Tell your story. It's pretty. It'll be like Scarface. It'll be entertaining. There'll be murders. There'll be mob hits. People are always looking for those stories.
Yeah, they want to hear all the craziness. Yeah. They don't care about really the redemption part.
Yeah,
a lot of times. Yeah. I mean, you can put that in there, but they want to hear the gory stuff.
No, listen, my life story had it all. I had the love affair. You can't, say what you want. That's undeniable. I was involved in that war, undeniable. I was his right-hand man, undeniable. And the corruption is undeniable. You know, we both testified at that trial.
But he wasn't that big of a rat.
No, Greg Jr. Testified at that trial too. But, again, you say, oh, we're testifying against an agent. So is that okay? I think
no, Senior wasn't that big.
No, Greg Jr.
That's what Junior says.
No. But I'm saying Greg Jr. He was on the DeVecchio case, Greg Jr. But again, to me, I don't call him a rat for that. I think, that guy was worse rat. He was as bad as the father, DeVecchio. He was doing it with a badge. You know
but
what I mean?
it doesn't matter, because if Junior testified on that case, that means he cooperated with the
Well,
government. They would never
yeah, but
accept
again,
him
yeah, I
back in
know,
their
I
life,
know,
right?
I know. But the
The
case got
rules
thrown
are the
out anyway.
rules, right?
Right. Yeah, exactly. Well, they're rules until you break them, and everybody breaks them. But Big Linda's the reason that case went down the tubes was because it came out. She said two different versions, and I think the first version was because they were still paying her. They were still giving her the money that Big Greg was getting, whatever that is. So she protected him. Soon as that money stopped coming in, when there was no more use for Greg Senior, who died, or her, there was no use. They pulled back the money. Then she came out and told the truth about the corrupt agent. So, but now once those tapes came out, it destroyed the case. And the witnesses there were me, Linda, 2 or 3 agents, Gregory, Carmine Sessa. There was one other person that was coming on too in our group. I forget. There's about 5 or 6 of us that had some kind of knowledge. And I had a lot of knowledge, but I didn't know where it directed to. I told the story. I had the phone with the phone number. He called that guy every day, several times a day. I gave them that list, and it never surfaced because they didn't want it to go direct to him. Yeah, I still have the itemized phone call list. I still got it, the original copy. We had the scanner with the top secret code. Where did we get that from? Between the FBI and the NYPD task force. We had the wrong address of Vic Arena. How does one agent, a lower level agent, say, I got his address, give it to the superior agent, the supervisor, and Greg Sr. wind up with the same wrong address? If it was the right address, there'd be an argument, well, somebody else gave it to him. But how does it go from him to him to him? So 3 people in the whole world had the same wrong address. There was so much against him, but the tapes and the lies ruined it. So, but anyway.
I appreciate you taking the time, and we'll see.
I appreciate you asking me on, because I see what's going on. And again, I don't reach out to anybody. Millennial wants me to go on there. I wouldn't waste my time, because they're the ones that started this whole thing. They should have came to me first if they were truly honorable type guys. But it's like Jerry Springer. They want to bring. Oh, that's a funny story. Who was that guy? Dr. Phil? Was that his name, Dr. Phil?
Yeah, with the bald head. Yeah.
Yeah, when I first came home, they wanted to bring me on the show.
Dr. Phil did?
Yes, and I was talking to them about it and what they were going to pay me and what they were going to do and this and that. Then I get a letter from somebody that while I'm on there, they're going to bring in Linda. Yeah. I said, oh my God, I don't need this. And I called him up. I called Dr. Phil. I said, rip up my number, because he was going to attack me, about all this, because with the murders, and you were sleeping with the wife, and he's going to bring her out. It was like a Jerry Springer show.
Yeah.
I wouldn't go on. He couldn't pay me enough to do that. I said, if you want to interview me man to man and say how I got into this life, how I became a killer, how I did this, because a lot of people have done that. I've had 2 psychiatrists interview me for their analysis for whatever they were doing. And I had another one that the show never came out, but it was called The Mind of a Killer. And I was gonna be one of the episodes. How does it happen? And they came to me at my gym. We went to my barber, different places where they're talking to me. I was a regular guy, grew up in a good family. And how did it happen? And I remember telling her, I said, that's a question for Sigmund Freud, because I don't know how it could happen. I said, nobody taught me to do that at a young age. I didn't grow up that way. But once you're in, you're in. So
with Senior, the manipulation, all the,
the
lies and all that.
But you still got to take responsibility. I did what I did.
Yeah.
I enjoyed a lot of the life, and that's what made it easy to do. We spoke about that, me and Gregory. And, I'm not blaming anybody for that, but I blame myself for being stupid enough to get sucked into the life and going for all that bullshit. And then it just turns out to be one big backstab and treacherous, and all the frauds come out. Who ran away during the war, who was freaking cooperating, who was, a street informant. you know, all that shit. It's just a bad life, you know. So anyway, I'm out of it, and I'm living a nice life now. And this is it. Like I said, I'm done unless something sucks me back in again, pulling me back in. I'm trying to go. All right, listen, go ahead. Yeah, that's a lot of time.
Yeah, go check out his book, The Life. I'll put a link in the description of this video. I appreciate you taking the time.
Thank you very much. I'll talk to you, Billy.
Thanks,
I'll see you soon, all right?
Definitely. If you like this show, hit the like button, subscribe, hit the notification bell so you can get my videos every time they drop. And if you don't like this show, too bad, start your own podcast.
There you go.